Let's add to the conversation. Criminal defense attorney based in Miami, John Sale. He's a former Watergate prosecutor and was approached by former President Trump's legal team to join their case. Mr. Sale, thanks for being with us this morning. A lot to ask you about this case specifically, but curious why you declined the invitation to help represent Donald Trump.
Hey, well, good morning. Well, there's not really that much to tell. I don't want, without violating any confidences. So my thought was, when I was a very young lawyer, I participated in an investigation of a president who had criminal exposure. So I thought, well, I'd love to, and it's historical, I'd love to do it again on the other side. And I wanted to be just a lawyer, though. I didn't want to be involved in the political aspect of it at all. But when I dug into the issues are so complex. They're so interesting that in my case, it would have required me to take a leave of absence from my law firm and devote full time to doing this. And I just wasn't in a position to do that. Wouldn't be fair to the matters I'm working on now. So there was really nothing more. But let me to dispel something. Payment was not an issue. The media is speculating, well, they don't pay their bills. That was not an issue. They didn't express to me any concern about not liking the lawyers they already had. It was just a matter of would I come in and head up a team. And let me point out that the Department of Justice has a whole strike force devoted to these investigations. So it was just really a matter of trying to even the playing field. And, you know, the Attorney General in his press conference reminded everybody that the president is presumed innocent. So I think we ought to bear that in mind also. And I guess the only other thing that went through my mind is that a search warrant is probable cause that there's evidence in a particular place at a particular time, but it's not an arrest warrant. It's not necessarily probable cause that a particular individual, meaning Donald Trump, committed any crimes.
So not you didn't have a principled objection to representing him. You just couldn't fit it into your schedule. It sounds like, Mr. Sale. I'm curious what you make of his representation, though. Some criticism from defenders of Donald Trump, of the attorney who was in the courtroom just silent yesterday. She was dragged onto Fox News and kind of admonished by one of the hosts last night for not saying anything. It might hurt their future case. What did you make of the way yesterday's hearing went?
Well, I think yes, two questions. I mean, I don't want to criticize any other lawyers because I don't know everything that they knew. I don't know what instructions I got from their client, but by not intervening in the proceeding, they're not going to have anything to say about the redactions. So I've been counsel for a lot of people and companies, particularly in this district, who've been the subject of a search warrant. I have never gotten an affidavit, and I've heard very, very good commentators like Dave Arenberg, who's a terrific state attorney, and George Conway, and myself. We all predicted the judge would say no. And in this case, this sort of mixed bag is extraordinary. But I think we're going to all be disappointed. And I think, you know, it's pretty clear we're not going to get anything that's going to compromise the investigation. We're not going to get anything about national security. And we're certainly not going to get anything that can even lead to speculation as to who the witnesses are.
Yeah, Mr. Sale, Joe Scarborough here. I think that's an important insight because I think a lot of people who are expecting, whether they're news organizations or supporters of President Trump, who are expecting to see a lot from these documents are going to be disappointed. First thing I want to underline is what you said, and it's just so critical. We've been saying on the show for quite some time, no man is above the law, including Donald Trump, but also in this country, you're innocent until proven guilty. I don't think we can underline that fact enough. And I'd love for you to follow up on what you just said about the possibility that, yes, there may have been a crime committed, but that crime may not. And I'm not saying this isn't the case, but we just need to lay this out because I think at times we, the media, have jumped the gun in the past. But a crime could have been committed. They could have presumed that a crime was committed, but not necessarily by Donald Trump himself.
Well, there are so many things that we don't know. Most crimes require criminal intent. So we don't know what the former president knew. We don't know what advice he was given. We don't know what his intention was to do with these materials. And all of that would have to go into the balance before recommending or for Attorney General deciding to recommend an indictment against the former president. So it's just, but in terms of talking about the 90-day rule before, one of the things that was disclosed early on was that this is in the early stages of the investigation. So nothing's going to happen for a long time, but they are reviewing. Neither side knows what they have in terms of the documents. So they're doing a filter team, where the government filter team is looking for privileges, not only attorney-client privilege, but executive privilege, the deliberative process privilege, which is a sub-part of that. You may recall that Eric Holder was held in contempt by the Congress for withholding documents because of this deliberative process privilege. But I would have, and I'm not criticizing, again, other lawyers, I don't do that, but I would have come in right away to court and ask for the appointment of an independent special master. Because if I had a client like former President Trump who'd been investigated, I would think he would be very, very distrustful of the prosecutors and the FBI, and we would want an independent special master to review for privilege, not the government themselves. And it's not something I'm making up. I mean, recently in New York, that's been done twice in the Southern District of New York. So, but what I would have done doesn't necessarily mean the other lawyers should have done it. I mean, every lawyer does what they think is right. But I want to say one thing. I would have tried my very best not to do what I was doing in the media, and I would have done it as a lawyer. But within a few days, I would have broken my own rule, because I would have done everything I could to denounce the rhetoric, the threats of violence, the threats to the FBI, to the judge. I mean, after what happened, that tragedy with Judge Salas' son, I mean, we can't say enough to tell people that is a lose-lose situation. We can't blame the FBI. We can't blame people. I believe in the process. I believe in the system. Let the system work, and I think the right result will come out.
Well, and you know, it really does. I'm so grateful for you saying that and underlining that fact. And it does, when you look at this situation, you look at the fact that the FBI and the Attorney General it appears that they understand what an extraordinary situation this is. They took some steps to try to make it a bit less intrusive. You look at the judge's decision yesterday. Ken Delaney and I were talking yesterday, and like you said, most legal experts had thought that there was no way that this affidavit would be released, any part of the affidavit, even in a redacted affidavit. And you had just said that you were surprised yourself. You've never seen anything like this happen before. I guess that points to the fact that the judge also realizes that this search of a former president is an extraordinary circumstance and requires us all to sort of wade through this together, and with everybody doing their best.
Well, I think the judge was not influenced by political pressure, but I think what you pointed out is right. But the judge said that a redacted version might just result in meaningless gibberish. I think those were his words. But we might see things like request subpoenas to the former president for documents, and showing that the government did go out of their way to avoid doing the search warrant. But let me say, the next time I have a client who's the victim of a subject of a search warrant, they're going to say to me, hey, why can't I get this partially redacted? Why can't I videotape it? And the answer is because you can't, and they just won't let you, and we just won't get it. So I don't know if this is sort of going to be a precedent that none of us want to live with.
And like any good criminal defense attorney, a Freudian slip, you say a victim of and then correct yourself. That, if I need a criminal defense attorney, that's the mindset I want right there. Exactly. So,
hey, a search warrant is not fun, and the affidavit never contains anything favorable because it's a one-sided procedure. It's only one side, and it's in secret.
Yeah, exactly, which, of course, is what makes all of this so extraordinary right now, that it involves a former president. Criminal defense attorney John Sell, thank you so much for being with us. It is very insightful. We appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.